Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas from some pretty compelling sources. Okay, let's start with a question. Imagine your worst enemy is right there in front of you, totally asleep, completely helpless. What do you do? Do you take your revenge? Now, this isn't just some thought experiment. This is the exact dilemma facing a young fugitive named David in the middle of a desert night. So David's right-hand man, Abishai, he sees this as a golden opportunity. He's practically begging, God has delivered your enemy right into your hands. Just let me strike him. I won't even have to strike him twice. You can see his point, right? This could end their long, painful struggle, just like that.
But, to really feel the weight of this moment, we need to back up a little. We gotta understand who these guys are and how in the world they ended up in this situation.
All right, so on one side, you've got King Saul. He's the guy in charge, the ruling monarch with an army of 3,000 men. But he's also completely consumed by jealousy and fear, just totally paranoid. And on the other side, we have David. He's the young hero, the fugitive on the run, relentlessly hunted by the very king he served. It's a classic story, isn't it? The powerful leader getting threatened by the up-and-comer.
So, how did this happen? How does a national hero become a hunted fugitive? Let's dig into the king's obsession. Well, it all started when David became a superstar. He defeats the giant Goliath, and bam, he's a celebrated military commander. But as David's popularity just keeps growing, Saul's admiration, it just sours. It turns into this deep-seated fear, this obsessive hatred. He becomes convinced David's after his throne. So what does he do? He accuses David of treason and sends the army to hunt him down. And that brings us right back to that night in the camp. David and his general Abishai sneak in, moving like ghosts. And get this, the entire camp, all 3,000 soldiers, are out cold. The source material describes it as a deep, almost supernatural sleep. The path to the king? It's wide open. Absolutely nothing is standing in their way. So there he is, standing over his sleeping enemy. David is facing the ultimate choice between revenge and restraint. And what he does next, well, it all comes down to a spear and a jug. But David just refuses. He tells Abishai, do not destroy him. His reasoning? He says, who can stretch out his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? Basically, he's arguing that it's not his place to harm the man God appointed as king, no matter how flawed he is. He's choosing principle over power, even when revenge would feel so good. So instead of taking Saul's life, David does something much smarter. Step 1, he makes the decision to reject assassination. Step 2, he needs evidence, so he takes the spear and the water jug from right beside Saul's head. Can't argue with that proof, right? And step 3, he and Abishai just slip out of the camp, completely undetected. It's brilliant. Okay, so now they're at a safe distance. David climbs a hill and just starts shouting, waking up the entire camp. He calls out Saul's commander, shaming him for doing such a terrible job protecting his king. And then he holds up the spear and the jug. It's this incredible moment where he reveals just how close he came, proving to everyone that he chose mercy over vengeance. And this is where David lays it all out. He shouts, the Lord rewards every man for his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered you into my hand today, but I would not stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. He's declaring that his actions are guided by these two core principles, and he trusts that a higher power is going to reward that. This brings us to the real heart of the story, righteousness and faithfulness. So what do these two principles actually mean here? Let's break them down. You can think of it like this. Righteousness is about the action, the what. It's the refusal to act as your own judge and executioner. And faithfulness is the belief, the why. It's the trust that a just outcome will prevail in the end. They're two sides of the same coin, really. The source for this explainer actually uses the original terms here, gongyi for righteousness and shinshil for faithfulness. So let's look at righteousness. It's really about discipline, right? It's about not using the power you have for personal revenge. It's recognizing that the ultimate judgment call, well, it belongs to a higher authority. It's choosing principle over power and emotion, plain and simple. And then there's faithfulness. This is the profound belief that if you uphold righteousness, a higher power will ultimately protect you and make sure justice is served. It's that trust that you don't need to take the easy, violent way out. It's about believing that forgoing that quick win will lead to a much more meaningful, lasting victory down the road.
So after this incredibly dramatic encounter, the two men part ways, and this is the last time they'll ever see each other. From this one moment, this one choice, they each head toward a very, very different destiny. And what's so wild is what happens in their final exchange. Saul is so shaken by David's mercy that he ironically blesses him. He admits he was wrong and actually predicts that David will be victorious. I mean, think about that. It's a moment where even David's worst enemy has to admit that this principled approach, well, it's going to win in the end. The story here uses some really powerful language to show the split. Saul goes back to his place, which sounds like a return to the past, right? A dead end of obsession and fear. But David goes on his way. It's a journey into the future, a forward path that's now defined by righteousness and faithfulness. One is stuck, the other is moving forward. And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. Which path are you on? Is it a place or is it a way? Are your choices leading you backward into a fixed place of old habits and maybe even resentment? Or are they taking you forward on a principled way into the future? It's a pretty big thought, and it's exactly what this story asks us to consider.